The Toronto Raptors have struggled tremendously under new head coach Darko Rajakovic, and fans of the team are suggesting that he needs more time in the role before we can critically evaluate him. Well, I've seen enough, and I'm ready to say that this is just not going to work, and I'm going to explain why in this video. Let's get into it. This is Amateur Hour Sports, the YouTube channel that is completely dedicated to providing you with Toronto Raptors news coverage and analysis in videos just like this, as well as our live stream watch parties. If you like what you see from today's video, then hit that like button, help us try to get the goal of 150 likes on today's video. And if you do feel so inclined, make sure you are subscribed to the channel to keep up to date with all the great Raptors content coming your way. And we're less than 100 subscribers away from 16,000, so you can help us reach that milestone. And the Darko Rajakovic experience in Toronto, it's been pretty short so far, but also it's been sizable enough to really make some critical comments about it. And I'm here to say that I believe that this was a mistake and that this is just not going to work. And if you're in the camp of saying that Darko Rajakovic needs more time or that the roster is so bad that nobody could get any wins out of it, then this video is for you, because I am going to try and get you off of that stance and get you on my side of things here, because the Toronto Raptors this season have been pretty much an abomination. They were expected to at least be challenging for a playoff position this season with some sort of consistency here, not feeding off of scraps, trying to be like the 10 seed for the play-in tournament. After 27 games this season, this team is 11-26, and metrics would suggest that their record, honestly, they're kind of overachieving here. And one of the big reasons why is that the Raptors come out flat pretty much every single game, and they have certain spells in games where they're flat and give up massive runs to the opposition. And well, you can talk about the players, you can talk about the front office and certain things that are affecting this, but ultimately you have to put a lot of that on the head coaching, the coaching of this team, for failing to equip this team on a game-to-game basis. Not like every once in a while, on a game-to-game basis. Darko Rajakovic fails to game plan for his opposition and put his team out there to be in a successful position. Get a load of these statistics here. Raptors have played 27 games this season. In 20 out of 27 of those games, they have been down by at least 10 points. That's 20 out of 27, the grand majority of games. But it gets even worse. In 15 out of 27, well beyond half of our games at this point, they have been down by 10 plus in the first half. So in over half the games, 15 out of 27 games, they are in such a big hole in the first half that they have to claw themselves out of it. And sure, there's going to be games like the one against recently the Charlotte Hornets, where the Raptors' talent on the roster is just so overwhelming for the opposition that eventually they are going to fall over the line and win that basketball game. Winning by 15 points against the Charlotte Hornets looks impressive in the box score, but honestly, like, they did not deserve to win that game by 15, and we're chasing that game for the grand majority of the 48 minutes. But you're going to have those games as well against the Denver Nuggets, where, yes, when you put yourself in a big hole early, it doesn't really matter if all of a sudden the talent kicks in and you can kind of make a comeback and you kind of make it single digits here. You're not going to have enough juice to make that comeback. The reality is NBA teams who put themselves in this position going down by 10 points have a 25% win rate. That is the league-wide average. The Raptors are punching pretty considerably above that metric at the moment, but that is not going to sustain itself for the rest of the season. If there is any sort of regression, mellowing out, regression to the mean, whatever you want to call it, that regression is only going to be worse for the Raptors, who are punching above their weight with these comebacks. And yes, it is down to coaching failing to prepare the players for the game. There's a lack of energy, and there is just a complete and utter lack of sense of what the team is trying to do. Take that recent game against the Denver Nuggets, where honestly, the box score flatters us a little bit in the end. The Denver Nuggets could have easily won this game by 20 plus points if they wanted to. What is the easiest way to attack this Denver Nuggets defense? And there's a recognition on my end that yes, the Denver Nuggets are good. Even though we're playing at home, the Denver Nuggets are a good team. They're reigning champions. Naturally, you can't expect yourselves to win that game. But I can critique the Raptors and their coaching for not putting a correct game plan in place. What is the one way to attack this Denver Nuggets defense? You get Jokic playing as much defense as possible. How do you do that? How did the Raptors in recent years have a ton of success against this Denver Nuggets team? You put Nikola Jokic in pick and rolls. That is like the easy thing before the game. I was saying, okay, today, great. Darko loves Dennis Schroder anyways. So naturally, the ball is going to be in his hands a ton. Just run Dennis Schroder and Jakob Poeltl pick and rolls. Get Nikola Jokic in pick and rolls. Get him playing up on the screen, and we're going to have success. This is a game where you can get Poeltl heavily involved down low after Jokic is coming up on these screens. This is a game where it almost makes sense to go to Dennis Schroder on so many occasions, which he already does, Darko Rajakovic. He overuses Dennis Schroder. Just go to the pick and rolls, and he didn't. He comes out the gate, and there is no structure. There is no game plan. How can you have something staring you in the face as easy as this of a game plan and then not go to it? Like, you can go to the Charlotte Hornets game as well. Charlotte were decimated by injuries. 4 out of 5 starters not available for the Charlotte Hornets. Listen to the 4 players that weren't available. They had LaMelo Ball, Gordon Hayward, Miles Bridges, and Mark Williams, all unavailable there. It was a decimated team that already is inferior to the Raptors. These Charlotte Hornets, from a matchup standpoint, match up worse against opposition power forwards than any other team matches up against any other position in the NBA. Charlotte cannot defend power forwards. So what do? We make it so difficult for Siakam to do anything. We don't give him the ball. We don't run any plays for him, even though the easiest thing you could do to get buckets in that game, give Siakam the ball, set a screen, let him drive to the rim. If he gets doubled, he can kick out. If he has a single coverage, he can attack the rim and score consistently. It's almost like we score and we succeed on offense in spite of Darko Rajakovic, like in forcing ourselves to do the things that he hasn't mapped out in the initial game plan going into the game. So you can have conversations about the Raptors roster. Yes, it's inferior to the Denver Nuggets. It's not inferior to the Charlotte Hornets. And I hate these games where we're rewarded after this bad start because we stumble into these good game plans that easily should have been figured out beforehand. You could talk about the roster and the poor construction of it all you want, yes, but honest to God, Darko is getting bailed out by having all this top-heavy talent on his team where it's like they have to figure things out. They have to force things to work. Siakam has to force plays to work to get his numbers in the game, to get his points up, even though he's the most talented offensive player in this team. The most talented player, it seems like, on this team right now is Scotty Barnes, and even he is having to fight consistently to get his points. He's having to fight through all his contact. And instead of getting him the ball down low and having him post up, giving Siakam the ball down low and posting up, they're having to fight so much harder to get their numbers, to get their stats, and to give this team any sort of semblance of offense that it's hiding. It's hiding the mistakes Darko is doing pregame. It's hiding the mistakes in-game. Look at the way Siakam started that game against the Denver Nuggets. Like, Denver didn't have the correct defense in place to deal with Pascal Siakam. They weren't playing Nikola Jokic on the level taking away drives, but as soon as a good head coach gets involved in Micah Malone, he makes an adjustment. So even though Siakam has an amazing first quarter, he does like nothing for the rest of the game because a good head coach can game plan and can make adjustments mid-game and take that part away from an opposition so Siakam doesn't have that anymore. Darko's adjustments on the fly, unless they are absolutely staring him in the face. The obvious pre-game assessment that he should have made, that's staring him in the face the entire first half, those are the only adjustments he ever makes for the second half. It's almost like, okay, yes, he made the adjustment. Okay, we can give him credit, but it was so obvious. Anybody could have figured it out that I can't give a ton of credit for this. Those are the only sort of adjustments that Darko Rajakovic is making on the fly. So game planning has been horrific. His utilization of players has equally been horrific. Look at the previous game against the Denver Nuggets. Look at the usage stats that we have here. In the fourth quarter against the Denver Nuggets, where the Raptors were actually within striking distance of making another comeback here. We've coined the term fake comeback. I don't see it used a lot this season, but oh my goodness, this year, are we not the kings of this? But in the fourth quarter against the Nuggets, when we had a chance of coming back, look at the usage. Look at the usage from the players here. 20% for Scotty Barnes. 18% for Pascal Siakam. A few other players involved. Dennis Schroder's usage was 41%. 41. This is comfortably the 5th best player on this team, being treated like he's a number 1 option. You know why Dennis Schroder is shooting pretty well from 3 this season? Because he's always open. Because teams are doubling off him because they don't see the threat there. His jump shot is not consistent enough. What he can do is ball handle and facilitate, not jack up shots, which is what he's doing. But it's being enabled here by Darko. He is being provided the ball so often when Siakam struggles mightily to get it, and even though Barnes gets it a bunch, he's not getting it in the high percentage positions for his game. They're having to work extra hard to compensate for the failures that the coaching is putting on this team. So you may be asking, you may be talking about, well, Darko's a development-minded coach, as is the rest of the coaching staff. They're here to develop. They're here to make this team better. Winning is not necessarily the priority here. Well, first of all, yes, it is. This team is out here to win basketball games. That's the goal of any head coach, to win basketball games. But if you want to push back, give him a little bit of credit here for development. Well, what credit are you going to give him? He's here for development. 27 games is a pretty good sample size. What progress has been made here? Like, I can live with the development thing. What progress has been made here? What strides have been taken? Scottie Barnes is developing and getting better. Yes, 100%. Are we really going to put that on the coach? Because this we were expecting to happen no matter who was in charge here. And no matter who was in charge, Scottie Barnes was going to put this work in the offseason to take his game to this level. And honestly, I think a better head coach would be getting more out of Scottie Barnes than we're getting right now. Malachi Flynn, you could be saying, is developing. Like, is he developing, or are you just seeing more of him now? Because he consistently struggles to affect the offense. His jump shot has always been about 35%. It's still low volume. It still is about that level. Defensively, he still is very inconsistent, often gets played off the floor. That's not a development story. And if that is your development story, my goodness, we have a problem. Precious Achiuwa is starting to be more consistent. I'll give him that. We're starting to get more consistency out of Precious Achiuwa. But how much of that's on Darko? How much of that is just we're in this high variance stage for Achiuwa, and we're bound to see that fall back down at some point? There is nothing here that suggests development is happening. And sure, you could say we need a bigger sample size in order to see this happening. But 27 games, I at least want to see some progress, some steps in the right direction. And we're not even getting that. He doesn't know how to win basketball games. There's no signs of development here. And he doesn't know how to use his players effectively. So even though the bigger problems stem from the front office putting out a team that is poorly constructed, that is the biggest problem. It's the front office. And sure, maybe some individuals could be playing better. But oh my goodness, I'm done with the excuses. I'm done with the time thing. There is nothing suggesting right now that this is working or that this is ever going to work. And honestly, like, we're probably too early to fire him, but I'm at a stage right now where it's drastic enough that I'm prepared to move on and say that this isn't going to work. Let's try to find something that is going to work and stop wasting time with this team. But the front office, is that going to happen? No. They're wasting time with the roster in its poorly constructed phase. Every game with a roster not built around Scottie Barnes' skill set feels wasteful to me at this point. The season is spinning out of control. It might already be out of control. And every game that we're not using Scottie Barnes to his max is wasteful. Every game that Darko is mishandling Siakam and Barnes' touches feels wasteful. But that's only going to continue. Plenty of games on the horizon where that's likely to continue. And that game coming up against the Sixers, that could be another embarrassing one for the Raptors because head coaching is a problem, and it feels like, yes, this was a mistake. He's not equipped to win basketball games, and from a development standpoint, even if you want to give him more time, the big mistake is hiring a development-minded coach, then giving him this broken roster with no signs of development. Doesn't make any sense. This team is going nowhere, and as you can tell, that infuriates me beyond belief that I can't even be happy with the direction of this team because there is none. So that's all there is to it. What do you guys make of Darko? Do you think he needs more time or do you think it's over, like I'm saying? Give me your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below because that's it for me for today. Smash that like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe to this channel for more Raptors content. I'll see you again very soon for another video.